Right. Well, greetings everyone. Happy Sunday, June 4th. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome from wherever you are. It's good to see you. And those that I can see, when you're on YouTube watching this, or you're watching in Mighty Networks directly, hello and welcome to all of you. It's exciting, believe it or not. Me and Ludwig have arrived in our Airbnb in Kosovo, in Pristina. And also Sandra and Danny, who are from our team in Slovenia, they drove all the way from Slovenia to Kosovo to meet us here with a rental car so that we can be mobile, going around with them. And the good thing is you kind of need like someone that's local. You kind of need someone that understands the local mentality, the ways of getting around, language, and also like cultural habits and so on. It's much harder to do without a local guide. It's much, much, much harder to do. So they have the local sensitivity, Sandra and Danny, and they literally just arrived. They've been driving since 4 a.m. this morning, European time, and now it's like 7 p.m. So they've been driving 15 hours. Bless them. They made it. They made it. Good people. And yeah, and Ludwig and I made it as well. Today was our first day ever in Kosovo. Like neither Ludwig or I, being born in Europe and being only an hour and a half away, flight away from Kosovo, have ever been to Kosovo. To some degree, there was never a real reason for us to be in Kosovo, right? I'm sure there are some places in your life that are close by. You're like, there's really no reason for me to be there. And it's in some ways, it's like that for me when it comes to Sacred Earth missions. I go to places where realistically, if I would be living a quote unquote normal life, I probably would not have ever gone. Not that inherently there is anything wrong with it, but if you were to choose your free time or spare time or priority time, you'd probably go somewhere else. Now, I'm happy though that the Sacred Earth work takes me to these places and I get to see things and experience things that I would normally not experience or see. And I get to also open those doors to people like you that want to see and hear and feel these stories as well. So thank you for being here. It's super exciting to have you. This is our official and real kickoff. It's like we are here. We made it. Months and months of work to get us to this place. And so first day, when I arrive with the team, one of the first things we do is we put down all of the things, the most important items to the side. We tell our loved ones that we made it in one piece and everything is good. And then we sit down to meditate. That's the first thing. To tune in to the energy and the frequency of the place that you arrive in. It's so important because this place, it's a group field. It's a giant group field, right? It's an entire nation. It's a country. They operate at a certain frequency. They operate in a certain way, their consciousness. Of course, they're part of human consciousness, but they're still operating in a particular way. Does that make sense? Every country, every nation, sometimes even a specific village you go to, they'll operate in a certain consciousness field, in a consciousness frequency. And it's good to tap into and feel into how they operate, feel into who they are. Feel into, can I be flowing in this field alongside with them? Because we're going to be guests here. Even if it's for a couple days here in Kosovo, and then we're moving on to Serbia. Even if for a couple days here, we're guests. And as guests, we want to feel welcomed, and we want to also be good guests, right? That makes sense. And so we want to walk these, not just the physical place, the capital. We want to walk this energetic field with respect and with grace, especially because we're going to sites of worship, energetic places that are active energetic places. Does that make sense? Right? So sit down into a meditation state. We start to feel into it. How does the collective field of this country feel like? I invite you to do that with me right now. We're going to tune into the collective field of Kosovo today. Okay? And it's going to be very smooth and easy. So close your eyes. Deepen your breath. And for a moment, check your internal alignment, your grounding with the core of the earth, your center as it receives from that core, and your extension into above, into the universe, into higher dimensions. And again, check your center as it receives from that connection. That is your midline, your alignment towards all of existence. And wherever you go in life, physically, emotionally, energetically, as a consciousness, always tune into your alignment first. This alignment is your greatest ally, your greatest companion along the way, no matter how bumpy any ride may be, how challenging any circumstance, any physical or spiritual environment may be. This alignment will carry you through it, no matter what. So as we all check our alignment, our grounding, our expansion, we tune into this place called Kosovo. Specifically, imagine yourself to be here with me in Pristina, the capital. A vibrant city surrounded by mountains, green hills. What does it feel like to be in this field? with the people of Kosovo. No matter what you feel, no matter what you observe, try to stay neutral. You can observe human emotions, human experiences with neutrality. And if emotions arise for you, then you can also observe your own emotions neutrally. A collective field of individuals, while Kosovo are mostly Albanian, there is a quite significant mix of individuals from all kinds of countries. From Serbia, from Bosnia, from Macedonia, from Albania. There's a Turkish population, and many others, including different religions. Serbian Orthodox, while predominantly Muslim. Many different lineages have made it through this land, through this country, over many generations, layers upon layers of learning, of growth, of expansion has occurred. And just like you, individuals have learned by trying, by loving, by making mistakes, by living a human life, the human experience. Energetically, a lot has occurred in this region in the past 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, in the past 1,000 years, 2,000 years. This region has been conquered and conquered again and conquered again. It has rebelled, it has been suppressed. It has won and it has lost many battles. Yet beyond all the human conflict and all the waves coming through, can you feel human resilience and perseverance? The heart of a human being continuing on, moving forward with life. And can you feel that despite what people may have experienced in the past, that they can still learn to love, still keep an open heart and smile, which is what we have been experiencing today. Many people being incredibly friendly to us, strangers. Loving kindness was immediately present. It does not necessarily mean they're not challenged or facing difficulties in life, or there may be unprocessed wounds of the past. It just means that no matter what the past had for them in store, today they choose a specific way of being towards a stranger. And I found that very beautiful and refreshing. It allowed me to open myself and feel welcomed, feel received in a good way. And I asked the guides, prepare me to feel like I belong here. Prepare me in a way that they see me as I belong here, with the pure intentions that I hold in my heart to support this country and its neighboring countries in an evolutionary process. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. And here was a short journey into Kosovo. And energetically, no matter where you are, you're tuned into this. And there are different levels of being able to tune into another place, or even another person, or another collective, another group. You can be part of any collective of this earth, of any country of this earth, even if you're not there physically. Does that make sense? Yes? Absolutely. This is the power that we have as consciousness. Beings that hold consciousness, that can utilize their consciousness to tap into other collectives and groups of consciousness within ours that we consider human consciousness. And it's a really powerful skill to have. And it's a skill that we train in the Sacred Earth pathway, where foundations is the first step for that training. I'm getting already a couple of comments here. There's Mikalia saying that she's feeling repression in her solar plexus. Jamal is saying it's very peaceful. Victoria says she loves hearing the children in the background. And Deepa says it's a very grounding place. It feels like a grounding place, and people living simple, basic life rooted in survival, and rivers around. Yes, those are all beautiful observations. The more you tune into a place, the more you can get information about who they are, about the generations before, about what is held in the fabric of a consciousness of a specific country. And sometimes you'll get images of the lineages. Sometimes you might get images of the past historical events that have occurred. This is very normal. right? You can also turn the volume up or down on those things. You can tune into getting more information or less information if it's too much, okay? Just understand and know you have the control over that volume dial, okay? So over time, you'll become a master of getting more information or less information about something, someone, or somewhere. Does that make sense? Good. So for now, when you tune into the meditations and in the places and the transmissions we will be sharing over next week, and maybe if you do the 3 daily meditations that we've given you, if you do them, try to feel into what it feels like as we are going through the days and as we're doing this work. Now, from time to time, we'll send a picture or an image of where we're going to be, what the places are that we're visiting, and we might even share a list of all the different stops that we are going to be going through. And this way you can feel, tune into them, or maybe read up about them and be connected to the work that we're doing. For example, today, one of the first stops we went to was a place called an Imperial Mosque. And it was a mosque that was made in honor of the emperor of the Ottoman Empire at that time, when the Ottoman Empire started to rule this entire region, including Kosovo. And Kosovo was under Ottoman rule for 500 years. That's a very long time, right? And it's very interesting. It was definitely very significantly influenced by that. We sat down in the mosque and I went into a channeled state. Luckily, there was no one else in the mosque. Otherwise, I might get in trouble. But I do it very, subtly, not as wildly when I'm with you guys. So went subtly into the channeled mode, and I tuned into it, and I felt that there was actually not a lot of work to be done. Like, it was a very beautiful, open energy was flowing. It was bright and it felt light. And I thought, wow, this is good. Like, this is a good way to warm up, right? You don't want to be just when you're going to a sacred site expedition into a country and the first site you go and it's just like, smacks you upside down. That's much harder, right? This one was super kind and easy on me and on us. We were there, and what's funny is when everything flows and I go to a sacred site, no matter how busy it would normally be, the moment I'm sitting in there, it's empty. There's not a single person around. It's incredible. And the moment I finish the work, people start coming in. It's really beautiful how this the synchronicities flow when we are tuned in, and we have to stay tuned in. That's really important, no matter how strict our plan is, because we have a strict plan and a schedule. We have to be here at this time and at this time. Still have to listen to intuition and to guidance. It's very important, so that we can catch these waves of synchronicity as it happens. Have you guys ever experienced that? When you listen to intuition, you catch these waves of synchronicity? Yes? Great. Same thing. And imagine, like, I come to this country without any specific needs or without any specific expectations. All I'm desiring is to go to a couple of these places to bring a gift. The gift is a gift of alignment, a gift of support and maybe receive some guidance about the place, maybe receive a transmission that we can all listen to, and also have your presence be there with me, with us, for us to be energetically connecting to these places together. Because we are weaving a network of sacred sites around the world. We're weaving a network of thousands of nodes around the world. And every place that we go to becomes a node in this massive network. And this network operates in the highest frequency, in the purest frequency. And what this network does is it starts to lift everyone and everything into this higher frequency field. Now that's the image that we hold. That's the work that we're doing, the vision that we're following. And this grid, the guides have called it the ascension grid. They called it in that way because they're saying every time the work is completed on every single nodal point, the connection of them, the synchronization and the frequency they hold together helps the ascension process of humanity. Now, of course, we can all come together and meditate together as a community, and then we lift our frequency, and then we are in that frequency field that is very, very high and potent, right? We've done this many times together, right? We can do it. But just imagine what it takes to get billions of people into that state, billions of people into that high frequency. How are we going to do that? There's not enough Zoom rooms to do it. And it's not necessarily the same pathway that we are on. It's not the same technology that we're using that is going to help everyone else to be on that same frequency. The sacred sites and these nodal points of the energetic grid of the world are going to be a key element in the rising of frequency for the general population, for all of humanity. Does that make sense? It's amazing, right? If you think about it, of course, that's the way it would scale, right? Because all of these sacred sites are like antennas of a giant network, and they all work at certain frequencies, they're like little radio stations, right? So one of them is like singing this song, and one of them is talking about this thing, and there's all these different radio stations. Now, if we get to be to these places without necessarily changing the existing radio station, we build a radio station on top of it, all of them having the same frequency, a grid that is above, that sits on top of the existing different grid lines and networks that exist. That is amazing, and it's a scalable piece of transformational technology. Now, how do sacred sites, let's say a mosque or a church, we also went to the cathedral of Mother Teresa. There is a cathedral that's dedicated to Mother Teresa, and this cathedral was not on my list. It's a fairly new cathedral that was built on top of what used to be formerly a school, and frankly, I went there and I really felt nothing. It was just felt like an ordinary building to me. It was beautiful. It's really, really beautiful architecturally, and like as an honoring piece for someone who's done a lot of beautiful work for people. It's beautiful. But energetically, I can go to places and I can say, I'm not feeling anything. Like I can be honest about it. But it had a very high tower that we could go up to, and we could have a great view over Kosovo and over Pristina, and we did some video up there for you guys. So in that regard, it was kind of beautiful. But here is the thing. All these sacred sites hold a certain piece, a frequency. Some of these sacred sites are stronger than others. Some sacred sites could be dormant, meaning they are holding a frequency that hasn't left that place or that area in a very long time. It's almost like it's sitting on a lot of potential, but the energy isn't moving. I'm trying to see if there is anything that you could understand about that in a particular way. Have you ever been to a sacred site or a church or a temple where you went in, you felt the power and the potential of the place? You left the place, and then the moment you stepped out the door, you couldn't really feel much of it. It was only like in the core, in the center, or like inside of it, just only there. To me, that's a place that has such an incredible potential, and it's kind of like sitting and waiting there, but it's not really connected to other sacred sites, and it's not really flowing as it could. And so this is the magical piece here, because these sacred sites are often built on top of these ley lines. They inherently can be connected to each other because the network is already there. In fact, sometimes there's multiple networks on top of each other, and it's like subway lines. There's like one subway line was built, and then another subway line was built, and then another subway line was built. All these networks intersect and connect with each other. A temple that is built on top of a nodal point has access to multiple networks, multiple energetic grids. But sometimes there is like things are not really attuned properly. Sometimes the people that built the temple in the first place aren't there anymore, and the people that are running the temple, they have no clue what they've gotten delivered to them because that wisdom got lost or it got extinct over time. It's almost like, an ancient high technology that we have been given. We just don't have the manual for it. And the people that used to have the manual, they're no longer around. And the people that are running the place, they're not fine-tuned enough to be able to listen to those that are maybe able to guide them through spirit. Fascinating, right? I believe it is a significant period of human evolution and consciousness evolution that the Elohim, that the archangelic guides that we work with have come through and are saying, well, it's time to reactivate these places, and it's time to attune these places to each other, and it's time to go to places that are on ley lines or in certain regions where heavy energies are stuck and stagnant. It's time to clear those up because you guys are going to need it. So we're going to places where wars have happened, where genocide has happened, where mass murder has happened. Now, did I wake up one night and I said, oh, I want to go to mass graves? No, it didn't happen overnight, right? It's something that has developed out of a sense of purpose to support human consciousness, and it seemed like an important piece in this sacred earth work. Now, this is not for everyone, and you don't have to necessarily think, oh, if I want to do sacred earth stuff, I need to go to these really challenging and heavy places. No, you don't have to. Okay? But this is one piece of the work that's important. Why is it important? Because not enough people are attuned and trained to transmute these places and the heaviness of unprocessed past. And this is the power that we have as a collective. Imagine hundreds and thousands of us focusing our attention on the transmutation of unprocessed past, of stagnant energy. It's possible. That's why we do it. So, what I'd like to do is I would like to tune in with the guides and see if there is a message for us on the start of this expedition. How does that sound? Yes? Yeah. I get double thumbs up from everyone. All right, let's tune in all together. Greetings. We are Elohim. The significance of the work that you are part of is truly beyond your imagination. Every single individual human being is impacted by the frequency that is held on this planet. and every place, every human being, every circumstance, every thought, every environment, and every unprocessed element of the past impacts the frequency that is held in the present moment. And here you are, impacting the frequency that is held and that can be held. Providing your presence, your energy, and your attention to the increase of the frequency that is being held, merely by observation first and foremost. Allowing your observation to bring forth realizations for you and for the collective. Witnessing how this observation alone and this true presence increases the frequency within yourself and within your environment, within the places that you place your attention on. And in return, the frequencies that you assisted in their increase will uplift you to new heights. The work that you fuel reciprocates and impacts you in return. Therefore, this work that you have embarked on will truly fuel you instead of draining you. It will have a direct impact on your being, on your well-being, on your alignment, and on the frequency that you can hold. All the sacred sites that you become attuned to you in return. The many places that you visit in person or remotely become accessible through your consciousness, and your consciousness is upheld by the frequency of these places, especially places activated, empowered, alive, and operating in full capacity, will uplift you in times of challenge, in times of readiness for evolution. You will receive the benefits of the work that you are providing, that you are participating in, that you are part of. This is the evolution of consciousness on Earth. This is the transformation of an entire collective. And the places of energetic significance is a critical element to this evolution. Thank you for listening to our words and for being part of this journey. Thank you. That was beautiful. That was nice. I'm wondering who here has questions about what it takes to go on these sacred earth journeys and how it starts and how it goes forward, and if we face problems, how we deal with them. And yeah, like I know some of you here have been on many of these sacred earth journeys, but I wonder how many of you have been to like sites of global trauma, like places of trauma hold a very different key and have a different approach to them. And also there is existing tensions right now in this region. So like present tension. Places of present tension hold a very different approach as well, because it's very much in the fabric of consciousness present. So I'm going to open it up to everyone who wants to ask anything about the journey, and who wants to break the ice about what we do here, and I'll answer a couple questions. And until any questions come, I'm just going to keep talking. Claudia is asking a question. Claudia, what have you in store for me?
Yes, hello. I was just wondering something. Let me see. I cannot see you. Hi, everyone. Actually, I was just wondering if, I mean, what you're doing, we are working at trauma place like Balkans, where you are. And we're here for example, me, I'm in Colombia. That is a traumatic country too, with a lot of past.
Yes.
Can we focus that energy into my country, for example? Can I just ask? Well, of course I can ask, but can you do your work be spared, even for our countries that have these problems as well? Some kind of are different, I know, but I would like to bring that beautiful energy here too. And I know I'm
100%.
traveling there with my energy there. I know we're working all together.
Yes.
But it's like spread through all the globe, of course.
Absolutely. I think that's a great question, and it's a really great intention. I would say in a secondary instance, yes. In a primary instance, we focus our attention almost like lasers into one spot. And in this spot, like we release the energy and the energy starts moving. And from here, it starts to move through the energy lines across the entire planet. So all of the world is benefiting from the movement of the energy here, right? But there is an effect that comes to you, like you are being impacted by the energy flow and the release of that. And your consciousness, that has been part of Columbia's consciousness in this case, your consciousness is being impacted also by the release and the clearing of that collective trauma. So, yes, in a secondary instance, it flows into your place as well. But it is, all attention focused on this place right now, but it has a secondary layer of effect that affects everyone and their
So,
lives.
yeah, another question is, you mentioned before that we had lives passing in that areas, and we have traumas. We can as well ask to release those memories that are hidden in their Akashic records, or I don't know how to call it. And can we just
Sure.
be part of the transmutation and 8 lives behind, or I don't know how many records of
Yeah, so
existence. I don't know.
good question. We have a lot of lives. We have a lot of unprocessed elements in our life and of the many generations before us and our past lives. So it's very normal that we have a lot of unprocessed stuff. If we are part with our focus and attention on the transformation of a big chunk of unprocessed past, there is a guaranteed resonance effect that impacts your unprocessed past and the unprocessed past of your past lives. So there is it's almost like we focus all our lasers into one spot, and then there is like a ripple effect that goes to everyone that's been focusing on it. Can you guys visualize it, right? So it really ripples out and it clears some of that collective trauma that we have been carrying in our lives, in this life, in past lives, but also our past generations, the lineage that we come from. Like this collective trauma release work that we do is not just for here, it impacts us in return, just the way the guides were talking about it. It impacts us in return. Thank you, Claudia. Good to see you.
It's so good to see you. Good luck. I will be with my heart with you all the time.
Thank you, Claudia. Anne.
Thank you. When you were talking about synchronicities, Friday night, just this last Friday, I was at an event a charity event in Washington, D.C. that was honoring a cancer survivor. He's from Serbia. And they were going to be going to Serbia, him and his wife, for some honors this coming week. And so, and I know this couple, but I'd forgotten he's from Serbia. So I thought, wow, what a coincidence of all the places in the world. But I mentioned to him and his wife, I was like, oh, I said, a group of us are going to be going there. And I just mildly put it to do meditation in areas of conflict, or something I said. But I sensed within them when I said, oh, we're first going to Sarajevo. And I don't know, but if I read it correctly, but it felt like there was a tension there. Oh, you're going there. So when you're mentioning that there's already these tensions, did I read that correctly? That there's like a tension between Sarajevo and Serbia? Or what? Could you talk a little bit more about these tensions that are now?
Of course. Of course, of course, of course. So basically, for many generations and in many different constellations, the people in these regions have killed each other for many reasons. over and over and over again. Okay. And, at some point it was the Turks taking over. At some point it was the Christians. Some point it was the Romans. At some points it was the Serbs. There was like all different constellations, right? And there are tensions between different countries.
Yeah.
Now they're countries, but in the past they used to be ethnic groups. Okay.
Right.
And the Serbian ethnic group was a very strong and a very dominant ethnic group. And they still are very strong and powerful people. And the tension between Serbia and other neighboring countries, Kosovo, Kosovo being an independent region, independent country recognized by some countries and not recognized by others. So it's even that in itself is a very complicated political situation, geopolitical situation. And then Bosnia being next door to Serbia and having had, just 30 years ago, there is entire mass graves along the border between Bosnia and Serbia. So the tensions are strong because there is also a war happening almost next door, right, in Ukraine. And
Right.
the energy of war being next door to you with unprocessed elements of the past, you can feel how it fuels the past, right? So that is there and present. And even I read, I think 10 days ago or so, maybe a week ago, that Serbia's military did like a power move of moving like some military forces close to the Kosovo border, just to show like, it's like tension is here, right? So yes, it's there. And, sometimes I talk to Serbian people and they're like, oh, please, thank you for doing something that is not like politics or talking about it or debating or who's right and who's wrong, but it's really a prayer for everyone, right? So I meet those Serbian people too, right? And then of course there are the cynics that say like, oh yeah, right, what you guys, like you hippies with your meditation's gonna do, right? So there is that too. But ultimately, I know and I believe and I trust that the attention we bring and the energy we bring, the frequency we bring into these places will make a difference. Thank you, Anne. Thank you for sharing that. That's a really important piece as well. Paula, haven't heard anything from you in a while. Hi.
Yes, life happens. So apologies for I don't have a camera available.
That's okay.
And I wish you all in the ground doing the groundwork. I wish you all a splendid time and experience. I'd like to. I'm not going to be there, but I will be there in the theory form. So following in on Claudia, and I apologize for perhaps a bit of the tour on the team. I was born in Angola, and I observe all of this energy work all over the world, and I always wonder why not Africa. Many people go and many and do work and in Egypt and I understand that, but the south of Africa, from the Congo South, so many challenges at conscious level, energy level. So it's so strong and impacts so many things and so many people. So I always wonder, I apologize because it's not Kosovo, it's not the Balkans,
I get it.
So I've been wondering, and as Claudia jumped in, to ask about Colombia. So if possible, I would like to understand, if possible. Okay, I understand if it's not possible to talk a bit on this.
Anything is possible, and definitely we can talk about it.
Okay,
There is
thank you.
work that needs to be done in Africa. So in the progression that I was given first Middle East, then Europe, and then there's a separate line that does North and South America, and then there is a whole energy lines that go into the African continent. So
Oh,
the African continent needs to be tackled. It will take multiple years to complete the African continent. Big countries, big energies, big
yes,
history, right? There's a lot there. And,
yes, yes.
and for that, we want to also have a much bigger team with different sacred earth practitioners around the world. Like we
Okay,
want to have thousands of people focusing their attention on transformation. Like when we go to these places and focus, for example, our energy on, you know, on Algeria or on Nigeria or on the Congo, and there's like lots of the
yeah,
Sudan. There's lots of places where there is conflict and old conflict and colonialism and extractionism.
yes.
There's so much there that
Huge
needs
wounds,
healing,
yes.
right? So we will definitely not go out of business because there's plenty of work to do. And I want all of you, as many of you, and even more individuals to be part of this, because there is so many places like Kosovo around the world. And we're just doing it step by step. That's basically the process that we're in.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paula.
Bye bye, thank you.
All right, let's do, go ahead, Sanya.
Yes, hello, dear Asil. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you well, yes.
Okay, so glad that you arrived safely. And I just wanted to mention one important aspect about the work being done in this region. I think that we must consider that all these nations here, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Kosovo, these are all small, tiny nations without power, without influence in a political sense. So in order to understand the tensions in this region, you must also consider, for example, for Kosovo, that it is of the crucial interest for the most powerful nations of the world and their area of influence. So if we are doing this work and trying to ascend this area, it also means that the work has to be done in these countries which are leading their influence. So in these powerful nations. So just wanted to add this as a problem. Yes.
Yes, and I believe that there is a resonance that changes. So, I mean, you have to understand, all countries, all nations are interconnected, right? There is really no one that, I mean, even North Korea that's trying to be independent, and Cuba, like no one is independent. Like everyone is interconnected, interdependent, right? So everything we do here will affect everything else in the world. Even if I don't do any work with the power nations, they will be affected by the work that's being done here, because naturally the fabric of consciousness moves across the entire planet.
Okay, I see. Yes.
You see, it's inevitable. Like the moment you throw a stone into the water, it makes ripples across the entire lake. That's the way it works. And if we do, these strikes, almost like all lasers focused on one spot, and changing the energy movement, because the energy already moves through the earthly plane, energy already moves through these countries. It's just we're making sure that the energy can move smoothly without obstruction, without barriers. It can move fast and strong and in a clean and clear way. Then these people get empowered.
Yeah.
And then the nations around get empowered. So it starts to feel different here, being here. And so that's how it all starts. Now, are there different aspects of society that we also have to look into? How we behave and how we treat each other, how laws are made, how we educate each other and ourselves and our children. All of those things are aspects that need to change over time, and they will. They will. But here is the first, from my perspective, and the guidance that I receive. The heavy load that we have been carrying for generations is sitting right there in plain sight. It's in us individually, it's in our immediate past generations, and it's in the fabric of the land that we sit on. This is the immediate heavy load that's right there. And I know that once we start to touch upon and release these pieces, things will start to change for us. We will start to make different decisions. We will start to see the world differently. Thank you, Sanya. See you very soon.
See you.
Francisca. I'm running a little over. Sorry, guys. This is great. This is super exciting.
Thank you for this call, Asil. It's so valuable. And I would like to connect to the channeling a little bit. There was something said, we were talking about this recently. Like when I'm going to places, I sometimes have this, or I had this realization, like my consciousness is connecting to the consciousness of this place. And
Yes.
I'm kind of connected afterwards to this place like I haven't been before. But
Mhm.
now that as well, even like for me, the experience is by going physically to the space, to the place, and having this connection afterwards. But now, if we are doing this on a remote way, like we, as they said, there is an option, or it will be the case that we are having this connection as well. Is there anything, like I find this very interesting because I haven't had this experience yet in that conscious way, connecting with a place without being there over a long period of time. So is there anything like out of your experience you would give as a suggestion or a recommendation, or you have this experience as well before? This would be really interesting.
So it's all a bit of an experiment. Okay, so there's no sugarcoating here. We're all part of a big experiment, and this is a very fascinating experiment, right? We're trying to see how well can we be grounded and how well can we expand our consciousness in a healthy way, and how well can we tap into collectives around the world? How well can we tap into energy places around the world? How well can we receive from that? How well can we impact these areas? This is a stage of empowerment of what we have inside of us. Okay, it's like tools that were already inside this human template, in this consciousness template, but now we're activating them. And I'm sure there has been some, yogis and sadhus and ancient masters that have done that before, but it's kind of becoming technology for the general collective. It's becoming available for all of us because something is shifting in the fabric of reality, in the energy levels that we have access to, and the tools and technologies that we have access to. And it seems like we can now do these things much easier, much smoother. And I think we only are scraping the surface, only the tip of the iceberg of what we are going to be capable of doing. I would say, keep doing what you're doing, Francisca. and you'll see how you're going to be able to do these things, and you're going to tell me stories. Oh, I could do this and I could do that and I couldn't do that before. It will come. So the most important thing is your grounding, your alignment inside, and whenever your consciousness is expanding too much, making sure that you are the master of that. You attune it to return to the level that you're comfortable and that you're feeling good about and healthy about. That's the key. Thank you, Francisca. Christopher.
Hi, Phil.
Hi.
Hello. I don't think we've met in person, but I'm friends with Ed, and he's been telling me about all of his adventures with you, and we're
Fantastic.
working on some projects together. I am really interested in kind of the whole land back movement that's happening now in North America, but all over the world, and in regards to people of privilege beginning to take responsibility for the vast amounts of land that has been stolen from indigenous people.
Yes.
And right now I've been working on a project here in New York that is right in the heart of Mohawk territory in the Schoharie Valley. And it's the Mohawk believe that they are the keepers of the Eastern Gate, what's called the Eastern Gate in North America. They see the Eastern Gate as being kind of a doorway or a portal for a larger process of reconciliation between native and non-native people here on this continent. And so so I've been involved on a financial level, and the woman that I'm working with, Bethany, is has been doing a lot of medicine work and hosting a lot of elders and wisdom keepers here, and sort of holding this prayer for activating this particular sacred site here in New York. I'm curious to know if you have any connection to this region, and if you've done any work here, and if you see it as a power spot or a leverage point here for North America.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do have actually a very strong connection to the Northeast. I lived 9 years in New York, and I've spent a significant amount of time in the Catskills. And I've always been touched and struck every single time I've spent time up there. There is an incredible potent energy that's visible and tangible there. And there is also heaviness in some areas of the upstate, and it seems like there is trauma that hasn't moved, it hasn't processed, it's still somehow stagnant in the lands up there. And I have to say, like, for me, feeling like land is going to be in the hands of those that have for generations held it with a great regard for life and balance, then like I get excited about this. I get happy about it. And for me to know that we could learn a significant amount of wisdom by just even watching how some indigenous tribes, some indigenous people actually utilize and work and live with the land. So we, as the Western mind, have conquered, right? We've expanded, we've taken over, we've extracted, right? And of course, I'm grossly generalizing here, but it's kind of like, if we look at the state of the world as it is, it's a result of this type of philosophy and ideology that has driven the current state that we are in. And it is time for the infusion of a different consciousness, and that includes consciousness from higher realms, that includes our own awakening consciousness, and it also includes consciousness of indigenous people, that is all supporting this evolutionary process for all of humanity. Because only an evolving consciousness will know how to take care of the place that is considered our home.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, and I have a deep connection with North America. Our work is currently, it started from Central America, went over Guatemala, and is going this year through Belize and Mexico. And we're going to be starting to enter the US soil at that point, with the work following the energy lines. That is great. I'd love to talk more offline about this.
Yeah.
This is
okay.
Fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'd love to stay connected, and maybe you can come. Maybe we can meet here in New York and do something. And
love it
at the Waterfall House, which is the place where that's kind of the center for this work right now.
Love it. Yes, I would love that, Chris. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and a happy strawberry moon, which is a very
powerful,
potent
full moon. Yes,
potent full moon, and it's particularly sacred to the Iroquois, who regard strawberries as sacred, and it's called the strawberry full moon because this marks the beginning of strawberry season. And the farm that I have helped secure is a berry farm that will be growing strawberries.
Amazing.
So it's cool.
Thank you for that, Chris.
Thank you
for joining today.
Fantastic. Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah.
All right, one more question. Ra, you're the last to ask a question.
Thanks for calling on me. And the question that you got asked about Africa, you mentioned some really interesting things about growing the sacred earth practitioners and more people kind of becoming involved, and thousands of people are joining online. And I know you have some people coming to do this work with you in person. Can you talk about like the training that goes into being on these missions, and like kind of like the pathway to going deeper into this work?
Sure.
As this grows and keeps continuing to flow around the planet.
Absolutely. So in some ways, the expedition work that we are doing is a bit like we are touching upon a soul's desire to be part of the transformation of humanity, of the transformation of the energetic grid of the world. So there is something inside of you that wants to be part of it, and knows it's part of it, and knows it's capable of doing and making a difference. That's clicking. And now, on top of that clicking and opening, we have specific trainings that we have developed. Now we have the Pillars of Light path that assists an individual to become a pillar of light. And we have the Sacred Earth path, which is getting individuals to understand their inherent connection, their conscious connection with the earth, and the power that emerges when we fuel and when we support this connection with the earth. And both of these pathways, Pillars of Light and Sacred Earth, require a course that we have developed with the guides in collaboration called Foundations. And I know a lot of people here have done Foundations. It's a 4-week extravaganza. It's a really powerful experience. It's transmissions, meditations, Zoom calls, practices, spiritual practices. And it's really to establish a new level of foundation within, to be able to follow both pathways, a Sacred Earth pathway, to become a Sacred Earth practitioner, and the other one being the Pillars of Light pathway, to become a Pillar of Light in service. So it's really 2 pathways that start off in Foundations. And believe it or not, we actually have a Foundations coming up in August. So if anyone hasn't done it or has done it, wants to repeat it, I know several people have done it many, many times over and over again. And it's coming. It's coming very soon. And actually, we may even have enrollment open very soon. So stay tuned. We have a website for it and so on. But great question, Ra. Thank you for that. Cool. All right, guys. We went a little over, I know, but I hope that you enjoyed even the beautiful exchange and the beautiful conversations that we've had and the questions that came through. There is so much more we can talk about. Stay tuned. We're going to be going literally, from site to site to site to site. We'll try to keep you up to date with every little thing that we're doing from the road, with pictures, with videos, with impressions that we have. And the real good stuff is starting to happen when we start to release some of these. So this coming week, June 7th, George is holding a meditation to prepare everyone energetically to go on this journey. So that's the meditation with George on the 7th. And then we have our first weekly report that we're going to send out on Monday, the 12th. And the first episode is going to be coming out on Tuesday, the 13th. So things are going to be coming up. Check out the schedule. Ask us if you have any questions. We're so excited to have you here. And honestly, I'm can't wait to get going tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Blessings.